Greetings, YouTube. I've really not wanted to make this video, but violence on the domestic front in the US is a hot topic at the moment, though we seem to be phenomenally good at ignoring all the violence that we spread across the globe. Yeah, we're good at ignoring that. And people keep wanting a simple answer to the problem of violence on the domestic front in the US. And one of my favorite quotes in life is that for every complex problem, there is a simple answer, and it is wrong. And now is no different. There is no simple solution to the problem of violence on the domestic front in the US. It's a very complex problem. It's a long-term, long-range problem. It's going to require thinking and planning on a scale that Americans are incredibly bad at achieving. And I don't have all the answers. I don't even know if I have any of the answers. But I think I have an inkling of what might help, a direction that we as a nation could move in and would help establish an environment where the type of violence we've been seeing in the last few months would be less likely in a major way. One of the things we could do is make sure that every single American is as fully educated as possible from preschool up through college on the public dime. Yes, if you can make the grade, the SAT scores or whatever tests that we come up with to go to college, that you would get to go to college, all the way up through a 4-year education. So at the end of it, you would have a bachelor's in something or other. An educated populace is the most valuable type of populace you can have. The fully educated citizenry is going to be able to make intelligent decisions about all the complexities of that life throws at us. And we will be much less likely to think emotionally and much more likely to think with a clearer head and with longer range plans. Another thing we can do is make sure that every single American has access to all the mental health care they need. I would believe all health care totally on the public dollar. It will cost less, and it would save us billions in problems, both because of people being unhealthy physically and because mentally healthy, well-balanced citizens are less violent. And those that cannot be helped will at least be identified, and we can try to do what we can to make their lives as the best possible and mitigate the damage they can do to the rest of us. These are two of the things we can do, and I think we need to focus on those a lot. And the last thing I can think of doing is jobs. We need to make sure that every single person in America that is capable of working has access to a job. I'm not saying they're all going to want to work. I know this. I'm not saying that you're going to completely eliminate unemployment, but it would be at a very low rate, probably something in the 3 to 4% range, because people are still going to be moving from place to place. There's going to be periods where they're transitioning. There's still going to be unemployment, but it would be at a reasonable and sustainable and healthy level as opposed to what it is now. Because if people are educated, if people are mentally well balanced, and if people have employment and security in that employment, they're not going to be violent. If people know that tomorrow they're going to have health care regardless, they know that tomorrow they are very likely to be unemployed, and if they are unemployed, it will be for a brief period of time, and then they will move on with their lives, they are less likely to have the kinds of stressors that push us to do extreme things. But the things I've just talked about will cost money and take time over scales that Americans don't deal well with, over entire election cycles, over entire administrations. And Americans have a hard time thinking about the next quarter, let alone 10, 15, 30 years down the line, because that's what it's going to take. A radical change in making sure that people come first, and corporations and profit come second. That how we spend our money is on humanity and not on the pockets of the 1%. I am discussing a welfare state. I am discussing what was going to be viewed by conservatives, libertarians, GOP members, Tea Party members as a radical redistribution of wealth. But that's what we do already. That's what taxes are, a redistribution of wealth. I'm just suggesting we spend the money wisely and we make sure that people are taken care of as opposed to corporate welfare and lining the pockets of the uber wealthy who just concentrate that wealth and then use it to cook the system, to monkey with the system to favor them over the rest of us. So this is not an easy problem. There are no easy solutions. And what I'm about to say is probably going to be considered radical by some. But one of the first steps we can do is never ever again vote for a Republican, a Libertarian, or a member of the Tea Party. We need to move to the left. We need to vote Democrat, and then we need to vote Green. And we need to make sure that human beings are considered more important than corporations. That education and health and job security are more important than taking care of big pharmaceutical or big tobacco or big oil or any of the other corporations that run America. We need to strip the corporations of personhood. We need to strip money from the political system. Lobby groups need to be groups that gather petitions, that do not have the ability to give money to anyone. They should be staffed by volunteers that, again, gather petitions and tell politicians the will of the people. That should be the only thing that lobbying groups do. They should make sure that politicians understand the will of the people. We should not be allowing lobby groups to have huge amounts of money, great war chests that they can then use to cook the books and change the system to benefit the groups they represent and not the American people. So yeah, what I'm talking about is hard, really, really hard. There are no simple solutions, ever, to anything. They all take incredible amounts of work. So, are we up to it? Can we do it? I think we can. I think we have the ability. But there's a difference between having the ability and having the will to do it. Until I had the will to become healthy, I was unhealthy. Flat out. Obese, anxiety-ridden, depressed. Now I'm none of those things. Because I had the will to make the change. So, does America have the will to make the change?